everybody? Welcome back to the Resleevables Stronghold Edition. I'm your host, Cedric Phillips, at Cedric A. Phillips on all the things, and I am joined by the New Jersey Devils' biggest fan and potentially a fan of Stronghold. That is Patrick Sullivan at Basic Mountain on Twitter. How we feeling about part 2 of Rath cycle?
I am not the Devils' biggest fan, nor am I a fan of Stronghold.
Oh. It's going to be a tough episode.
There's a lot to talk about, and there's some individual designs that are quite sweet. In a lot of ways, it is sort of the first multiplayer set insofar as there's a lot of designs that even before Commander was a thing, people really enjoyed in a multiplayer context.
Okay.
And a lot of the designs there have a large family tree coming down from them in terms of Commander staples that we know about today. But the set is starting from a rough position, which is continuing the mechanics of Tempest.
Yes. Buyback and Shadow.
And Licids.
True.
And there's really nothing new going on with them. It is kind of more of the same. And to the extent that you have good ideas, they usually come the first time around.
True. Okay.
This is an old quote from Tom Lapilli, who used to be my boss at a game design studio, but worked on Magic many, many years ago. And he said about Magic, because the game is so old and people have been working on it forever and a lot of very smart and creative people have touched it. He said to me once, if an idea was good, someone would have probably had it already.
Okay, that's
and Stronghold
like
is
mostly true.
Yeah, is it not for
100%
sure?
True.
Not for sure.
Yeah,
but it is the peril of new design space. It's like, you think you came up with something good and other people just missed this all this time? Not impossible, but unlikely. Stronghold's got a lot of, here's kind of the runoff of ideas that weren't very good in the first place.
Okay.
And the set, top to bottom, kind of has that issue.
Well, we got our boosties, so that's good news. We're doing a little crack-a-pack that's going to come out a couple of days after this episode, so someone's going to get their shot at Mox Diamond, maybe Sliver Queen, who knows? So that's some exciting stuff. But what's more exciting are the facts of Stronghold coming at you right now. All right, everybody, we are here for the facts of Stronghold. But before we begin, of course, we have to shout out our wonderful sponsor, Tales of Adventure.
You can head over to toamagic.com and check out a selection of over 77,000 SKUs in stock, including 80 pieces of the Power 9, every single revised dual land, and 99% of standard cards for those of you playing in standard RCQs this season. Every order placed with Tales of Adventure comes with free track shipping. UPS next day and 2-day shipping is offered for orders placed before 8 a.m. And Tales of Adventure has completed over 1 million orders lifetime, so you know you'll be in good hands with Michael Caffrey and his staff. If you'll be attending an event that Tales of Adventure will be at, when you're checking out, you can select the event pickup option. So you can simply pick up the cards you've ordered right at the event you'll be at. You can find a list of events that Tales of Adventure will be at attending on their homepage, toamagic.com. Lastly, when checking out, be sure to use promo code RESLEEVABLES to get 5% off your entire order. Tales of Adventure, Eternal lives here.
Alrighty, let us dive in. Stronghold is the 13th Magic the Gathering expansion. It released on March 2nd, 1998 in Papier. March 2nd happens to be my birthday. On that day, I turned 12. Dude, nice.
Any good memories?
No.
Yeah, I think that sounds right.
I think I was in middle school.
Sure.
Yeah, 12 is middle school range, before high school, that's for sure. The pre-release was on February 21st, 1998, and Stronghold's pre-release card was a non-foil copy of Revenant with a, quote, pre-release 2/98, end quote, stamped in gold foil between the creature type and the set symbol. Now remember, last set is when they first kind of started experimenting with this in Tempest with the old dirt cowl worm. Can't really say this is much better.
Yeah, they followed it up with yet another piece of garbage that has nothing to do with anything in the set.
Yeah.
Heart's in the right place, but the execution's still a little bit flawed. I do like putting the date on there, though. That's a cool thing because if you gave it a different treatment or a different piece of art, someone would look at it and not necessarily know where it came from.
Yeah.
The date on the card signifies that there's an event. So if you don't know about pre-releases, you would look at that and go, what's that date all about? And then your friend can tell you, oh, they have these tournaments called pre-releases. So that part I think is really good, but it would be nice to give a card that was either appealing or about anything. Ideally both.
Hey, baby steps. Baby steps. We're moving forward. Durcrawl Worm, not great. Revenant, not great, but minor changes. And look how far we've come.
Yeah.
So there you go. Let's also note that Stronghold was released on April 13th, 2009 on Magic Online, with drafts available through April 27th, 2009. Of course, you got to get those old sets onto Magic Online somehow. Heck, they could release Stronghold on Magic Arena at some point. Who knows when? It was also available.
Oh, I don't think that's true.
No?
How are you going to ask these people to code licids?
Somebody's job.
I don't know. I mean, I understand your point in general.
Yeah.
That old sets could come onto Arena.
Yeah.
And people ask for it all the time, and you could imagine it happening. I'm saying specifically this block is not where I would start were I managing resources over there.
We'll call it Stronghold Remastered.
It's incredible, by the way, that licids work on Magic Online.
Yeah.
What an achievement.
That's some true coding work, I presume. I don't know that area of the world at all. Let's also note quickly that it was also Stronghold. It was also available after the release of Exodus on December 7th, 2009 to support Tempest block drafts, which that's not for me. And then a subset of the cards from Stronghold were also released in the 2015 Magic Online only Tempest Remastered set with a modern some of the cards have a modern frame, just like we saw in Tempest.
Yep.
So cool. So that's all the ways that Stronghold was released. Let's talk about who it was designed by. We have Mike Elliott. That'll be your lead. Bill Rose and Mark Rosewater. Rosewater is just all over these sets now.
Mm-hmm.
He's just got his fingerprints everywhere, which I don't know. I don't have a problem with it, but it's noticeable now that that Mark is everywhere. The develop team is also led by Mike Elliott. It's got William Jokic. It's got Bill Rose. It has Mark Rosewater, and it has Henry Stern. Art direction, once again, not by Sue Ann Harkey. Matt Wilson, continues to be in charge. So that's your team that has designed these 143 black bordered cards, 44 rares, 44 uncommons, 55 commons, 55 tacos, 55 pizza, 55 shakes. Some people know what that means. Not the biggest set.
No.
Just now we are very much in block mode.
Yeah, big, small is now the thing.
Yeah, which, again, some of you are older out there. You guys were there for block mode. We were there for block mode. Now we don't do blocks anymore. Now we just do like one set, but it has 8 different versions of every card, so it's hard. I mean, it is one set.
There's a full block released every 3 months.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts nowadays. So this is what a second set looks like. Not that big. Stronghold's expansion symbol is the closed portcullis of Vorath Stronghold. That's on theme. They started doing so in Tempest. They got the bolt. They got like the cloud with the lightning in it. They've got the closed portcullis in Exodus. It's like a bridge.
Yeah.
So they're doing stuff that's really on theme now.
So this was a set that caused me, I shouldn't say the set caused me, but around this time I took one of my more extended breaks from Magic.
Yeah.
I stopped playing for about a year. And Stronghold definitely did that no favors. But I remember thinking the expansion symbol was super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not bad. I mean, I like the work they're doing with the expansion symbols. And speaking of which, Stronghold is the last set printed without different colored set symbols for cards of different rarities. So when we do Exodus, which will be the next set that we cover on this show, I believe, that's when you're going to see the bridge set symbol that I've talked about, but also this is when in Exodus, when the different colors start. So black for common, silver for uncommon, gold for rare, which I think is a huge upgrade to things.
It's a major step forward.
Yeah.
So much of early Magic. I mean, it kind of dovetails with the fact that the internet was not a ubiquitous tool for searching for information, but you regularly just didn't know what the rare was in your pack. And a lot of people buy packs and open them because they want to get the rares.
Yeah.
So not being able to identify what they are is a struggle, especially when Magic's sort of sensibilities about what's appropriate for common, what's appropriate for uncommon, what's appropriate for rare, I would say, is a lot more scattershot in the early days. So you really just had to go to, Inquest and Scry's, other magazines to find out what the rarities were. It was predatory traders at the store had way more success ripping people off because of all of this. And, making that information present at first glance is a big deal.
Heck, even when we do our crack-a-packs, we're not entirely sure.
Oh, no.
What there is.
Yeah, we've opened a couple where at the end of it, I'm like, well, my best guess is it's this 6-mana 4/4 flyer.
Yeah.
That with cumulative upkeep, but I'm not sure.
Feels rare.
Right.
Kinda, but again, not positive. Stronghold. Let's talk about how it was sold. 2 ways: boosters and precons. 15 card boosters. Well, that's pretty simple. Kind of the same formula we've been seeing for a little while. 1 rare, 3 uncommons, 11 commons. And because this is a second set, you identify this pretty quickly. The base set, the first set, has different pictures, couple. Mm-hmm. Second set just has 1. And basically, the smaller sets of the block have just 1. The packs featured artwork from...
Is this Warrior Angel?
That is correct. Bravo. Well done. And then we'll talk about these pre-constructed theme decks, of which there were 4. Now, remember in our Tempest episode, that's where Wizards has really taken the dive into making these things that are kind of cool and matter and things that they want people to buy. So, because Stronghold wasn't a standalone set, the decks contained both Tempest and Stronghold cards. Given that Stronghold is, checking again, 143 cards, it's going to be tough to make decks just out of that.
Right. I think this is fine as long as all of the rares people are receiving are new.
Yeah, from Stronghold.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. That's a smart thought. So let's get to deck number 1. It is called, this is one of my favorite things about this, the names of these decks, Migraine. It's a mono black deck. The Migraine deck features an array of fast creatures coupled with discard combinations to gain card advantage. This mono black deck is geared toward the more experienced player, using a subtle design and potent theme.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. The 3 rares in the deck are Ensnaring Bridge.
Great.
Mind Warper.
Okay.
And Portcullis.
Okay.
So there you go.
I love just my tiny creatures in Ensnaring Bridge deck.
Mm-hmm.
Really coherent.
That's
really
right.
Fun.
For what it's worth, the descriptions of the decks, I did not make. These are on the packaging. Next up is the Sparkler. This is a blue-red deck. Here we go. The Sparkler deck combines buyback, direct damage with counterspells, bringing a lethal edge to the standard control deck. This red and blue deck will be a surefire hit, surefire is in quote, with both veteran and new players alike. The 3 rares in this deck are Evacuation, Intruder Alarm, and Reigns of Power.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
It's also kind of weird because in the first deck, they're describing different elements.
Yeah.
And you can kind of imagine, if you have any familiarity with Magic, how that would be coherent.
Okay.
This is like, it puts burn spells, buyback, and counter spells in the same deck. It's like, why would I be interested in that mix of stuff?
Those effects are deep.
Yeah, it's just, I guess the rates are good.
Now, here's a deck that you will like. The Spikes.
Mm-hmm.
Red-green deck. The Spikes deck introduces new creatures that sling +1/+1 counters from card to card, giving a player more control over the battlefield. As a starting point for more sophisticated decks using Spike creatures, this green and red deck is sure to be popular around gaming tables. The 3 rares in the deck are Hermit Druid. Good start.
Come on. I also like the insecurity evinced by popular around the gaming tables, because it's like, well, that's where you play anyway. Mm-hmm. That's just playing the game. So you would only mention that if you felt the other decks were really miserable to play with and or against.
I would agree.
Yeah.
We promise this is fun.
This one is actually okay. Yeah. The rest of these are horrendous.
Hermit Druid, Spike Breeder, and Verdant Touch are the rares in that deck. And last, but certainly not least, Call of the Core. It's a white-black deck. The Call of the Kor deck introduces the Kor race and exploits its damage redirection abilities. This unique white and black deck allows players to keep white core creatures in play by redirecting damage to other creatures. The 3 rares in this deck are Shaman en-Kor, Skeleton Scavengers, and Sultari Champion.
I mean, Skeletal Scavengers is a pathetic rare, but it's at least fun in context.
Yeah.
That works. I understand that.
Now, wait for it. There's one final note here. Call of the Kor Advanced. This is a mono white deck. A tournament level horde deck must be fast, really fast. To accomplish this, the advanced version of Call of the Kor replaces all black cards with white cards and lowers the land count from 24 to 18.
Okay. Is that a deck that was sold?
Apparently.
Okay. Mm-hmm. What are the rares?
I'd have to go look that up.
18. There's no way 18 lands is correct, by the way.
Oh, you sure about that? Okay. Well, okay. Yeah. This is nice. You're going to like this. We are. I know the deck list is like on the screen and everything. We're down to 18 planes with 3 Armageddon.
Okay.
So that's great deck building right
there.
So that's step 1.
All right. I'm listening.
Okay. I got your attention. Okay. Let's see. Rares in this deck. I mean, I got 4 copies of Crusade. Can't say that. Imperial Armor. That was
common or uncommon.
Okay. Tithe. I don't think that was
rare.
That's a rare. Okay. Sure.
I'm pretty sure at least.
Yep, we got a bunch of 2/2s for 2. White Knight, Sultari Priest, Warrior en-Kor, Shaman en-Kor. That's a rare. Order the White Shield. That's a 2/1 for 2. Infantry Veteran. Yes, there you go. It's just a beatdown deck.
Yeah, and it replaces all the cool interaction with just rates.
Yeah, that's correct.
All right, great.
That's
and
correct.
Cut 20% of the lands out of the deck.
Also correct. So
which is probably just not correct.
Well, you got 4 tithes.
Yeah. Tithe is sweet when you're land screwed.
So you purposely land screw yourself, and then you work yourself out of it. But yeah, this is a little fun thing I found. This is when they started to work themselves into the theme decks, and then also give you the
there's a sideboard.
The better. Oh yeah, there's a sideboard. Absolutely.
Hit me.
Oh, okay. Excuse me. Angelic Renewal, Disenchant, 2 Pacifisms, 2 Sultari Monks, a Tariff, 3 Ward of Lights, 2 Warmth, a Silence, the 4th Geddon.
For opponents with lands.
That's right.
You bring the 4th Geddon.
And a Light of Day. For those of you playing black creatures.
That is rough.
There you go. So those are your your precons, as it were. And more importantly, those are the facts of Stronghold.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I feel like I learned some things. I do like what they're doing with precons conceptually. Like they're working on it.
Okay, so here are the good things. 4 decks with various play patterns.
Okay.
And all 5 colors represented across the decks.
True.
So if you just walk in your store and you're like, yeah, I play green, they at least have one deck they can point
Spikes deck, I got you.
Yeah, that's great. The bad stuff here is many of the rares are off message, unappealing, or play horribly, or a combination of all of them.
I do really enjoy that Ensnaring Bridge is one
Ensnaring Bridge?
I'll teach you. What, you want to do a little creature combat?
Oh, are you playing the Spikes deck? I got something for you.
Yeah, you're dead.
You're going to want to move those counters on that one down to 0 so it can attack. But it's better. I do believe it's better to do this badly than to not do it at all.
I agree.
So there's at least something there, but these are really rough.
I think it's important to be able to, in my opinion, be able to give people who are new to the game, like, here's a deck.
Right. It's so hard to build decks.
Right. Just like, here is something to start with instead of leaving them up to their own devices. Because if you leave players up to their own devices at that point, they might just go, this is too hard. I don't really know what to do. So I'm going to go play a video game instead.
Yep.
Right. Like something like that. So again, not the best execution, but the idea is good and they stuck with it. So
Intruder Alarm in a deck that probably has no synergies with it. It's just supposed to just lock them out of the game, I guess, alongside counterspells.
Again, idea good, execution not so good. 2 notes. Actually, rewind that. 1 note. I bet some of you are watching right now and wondering what computer is going on here. It's Patrick's computer.
Yeah.
I left mine at home.
I got the big rig hauler.
Yeah, this big old thing. So if you like can't see me or like my cool shirt that matches with my hat, I get it. This thing is gigantic. Second note. Facts are done. It's lore time. So if you liked him making fun of Gerard, I got good news for you. All right, everybody. We are back for the lore of Stronghold. And I read your YouTube comments, and I saw that some of you happened to enjoy the lore that we put together for Tempest, or more importantly, Patrick almost certainly making fun of Gerard in perpetuity until we're out of Rath cycle. I guess until we're out of the Weatherlight saga.
This is, I mean, it is sort of a function of the time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you could really write a character like Gerard in 2024.
No.
The way that they were able to in 1996. But we're rooting for a buffoon who doesn't even really have any admirable characteristics except, I suppose, bravery. Arguably,
he is extremely brave.
Most normal people do not find that to be appealing.
Yeah.
Even setting aside the whole like race, gender construct underneath of it.
Yeah.
It's still just like, this guy is annoying and sucks and gets other people into trouble.
Charge.
And then other people get him and others out of trouble.
Yeah, he gets people captured.
And then he's, the leader, so he gets all the credit.
Mm-hmm.
The comparison, it came to mind to me afterwards. If you're a Futurama fan, Captain Zap Brannigan.
My God, we're defenseless, like fish in a barrel. Options? My instinct is to hide in this barrel, like the wily fish.
Okay.
That is, I think, a reasonable Gerard template.
Well, I got good news for you. I got a healthy amount of lore today. This will probably be the largest portion of today's episode. So if you're not in the lore, you can go ahead and skip along to the mechanics. But if you're into learning some more about Volrath and Gerard and their struggles amongst the Weatherlight crew, buckle up, because here we go. And I'll allow you to interject as necessary.
Okay,
here we go. Volrath's stronghold hangs suspended by two massive spans of stone within a great hollow mountain. The Weatherlight emerges from a tunnel, silently drifting past a series of disjointed buildings that link the stronghold to the mountain's inner wall. As the ship guides to a stop, a fortress guard spots it from a sheltered balcony. Miri leaps from the ship, over the balcony railing, and claws his throat before he can sound an alarm. Gerard, close behind, takes up the guard's sword to arms to say when they find her. So
far, reasonably useful.
But,
resourceful.
Miri doing the work.
Yeah. And Gerard just, okay.
I'll take that weapon.
I'll take the weapon.
There you go. Krovax and Stark join Gerard and Miri in the search for their captured comrades and the stolen pieces of the legacy. Stark recommends they check the dungeons and Volrath's inner sanctum, the Dream Halls. En route, they encounter one of Volrath's twisted experiments, which flees by shapeshifting into a winged angel. Krovax snarls with fury, remembering how Volrath arranged the killing of his entire family and enslaved their angelic guardian, Selenia. He bolts after the shapeshifter and corners it in a large war room. When the search party reaches them, Krovax has savagely torn the wings from the shapeshifter's malformed body and killed it. Gerard orders him back to the ship, but Krovax replies, quote, "The legacy may be your destiny, Gerard, but Selenia is mine. Do not deny me this." End quote. Krovax's intensity convinces Gerard, but both men are disturbed by this violent outburst.
Yeah. One thing that he can empathize with is someone being loud, stupid, and wrong.
Sure.
So Gerard, now we're speaking the same language, and Gerard's like, okay, fine. It's great.
You can stay.
Yeah.
You can stay. Gerard quickly becomes absorbed with the vast war room. At its center is a detailed three-dimensional map, which Gerard recognizes as an aerial view of the domains of Dominaria. A black shifting wave crosses the domains, changing their texture. This may not just be a map, Gerard thinks, but an invasion plan. Maybe that's the name of a set coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly, A projected image of Volrath appears, his voice booming. Quote, all forces report to invasion stations at once. Grivenhill Vec, return to the Predator, end quote. The apparition fades, but Gerard is troubled. Volrath's voice is one from his own past. Now, as we went over previously, we know that Volrath is actually Vuel, V-U-E-L, who was like Gerard's like half bro or something before all this stuff started happening. So Gerard's like, yo, I know that voice. Ascending into the fortress, the party finds a narrow bridge that crosses into the prison tower and suspiciously doesn't appear to be guarded. When Gerard chests it, the bridge explodes into life, forming ropes and ties to capture any who cross over it. Frustration building, he stalks back into the towers behind them and returns bearing the dismembered body of the shapeshifter Krovax killed. Gerard throws the corpse onto the bridge, which promptly attacks and engulfs it. The group runs across while the bridge is, quote, distracted, end quote, dodging its snares before safely reaching the other side. You know what that is, I presume.
Mm-hmm. That's
ensnaring bridge.
Yes.
That's actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, it is the epiphany of like, oh, it's unguarded. That's got to be the way to go.
Yeah. That's weird that nothing's here.
Never occurring to him that it's a trap. Yeah. But fortunately, his friend died recently, so was able to leverage
Well, it's not his friend. They killed a shapeshifter.
Whatever.
Krovax did some handiwork. Gerard's like, let me use this dead body. This bridge will attack that, and then we'll scoot on by.
Yeah.
That was actually kind of smart.
Gerard showing some real recycling and scavenging skills.
Mm-hmm.
Picks up the weapon to arm a friend. Uses someone who's already dead to distract the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
That's good stuff. Good stuff.
All right, so some better leadership. Inside the prison tower, they find Karn nearly catatonic with emotional agony. His cell is filled with the Mogs, the brutish goblins of Rath, and its floor continuously undulates, causing him to stumble into the creatures and crush them. When Gerard finally gets the cell door open, the surviving Mogs flee into the darkness. So basically, Karn has been forced to kill some stuff.
Yeah.
And Karn is a pacifist, doesn't want to kill anything. Now, Gerard knows beyond doubt who Volrath is. Only one person would know to torment Karn by forcing him to break his vow never to injure or kill other beings. So instead of like torturing Karn by like, I don't know, like zapping him or something.
Pulling his screws out.
Yeah. It's just like, no, you got to kill stuff. It's pretty mean.
Yeah.
Pretty mean by Volrath. Here we go. They find Tangarth in another cell, one designed to slowly mutate its prisoner. The Minotaur has been horribly disfigured, and he moans in anguished fury for his ruined appearance. Gerard hands Tangarth the sword taken from the guard Miri killed. Smart. Quote, this is who you are, end quote, he tells Tangarth. Not your horns, not your bones, your sword. Tangarth gratefully accepts the weapon. So, if you remember from our Tempest episode, Tangarth is kind of vain, I would say, but he's a fighter.
Right.
And he cares about fighting, and he's actually been tortured.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But he's got a weapon now.
Right. Yeah. It's don't worry about anything other than your own capacity for violence. That is what defines you.
There you go.
More good leadership.
The band hurriedly searched the rest of the cells for Sisay and Stark's daughter, Takara, but they find only the twisted results of Volrath's experiments. In a barren laboratory, they finally find Sisay imprisoned in a sealed glass cylinder. Gerard wants to repay the debt of loyalty to his friend, but fears that simply breaking the glass to open the cylinder could cause her harm. After an unsuccessful search for a release method, though, he reluctantly falls back on brute force to free her. So he's trying to use his old brain. See, because he got trapped by the bridge. So he's like, there's probably something going on with this cylinder.
Yeah. So it starts from a good place. It seems too risky. There's this device that I don't understand. It's keeping this person in prison.
Yep.
It just seems dangerous to just break the thing open.
Yeah.
Great. What's not great is he basically looks for 5 minutes for a control panel, doesn't find it, and he's like, all right, I guess I'm just busting it open.
Yeah. And what's the worst that could happen besides, your friend dying? Which fortunately does not happen. Sisay tumbles out, disoriented. But before Gerard can take her outstretched hand, Miri hisses and slashes it open. Sisay shrieks and shapeshifts into a mass of biting tentacles, which quickly escapes. Shaken, but grateful for Miri's keen sense of smell, the search party presses on to the dream halls. Gerard's a bozo.
Bozo.
Yeah, he's a bozo.
Didn't really care about getting this person killed nor had any sense that it was not actually the person in question.
That's correct.
Miri, again,
the nuts.
Saving the day.
Best teammate possible.
Mm-hmm.
As they climb higher and step onto a new bridge, a blur from above hurtles towards Krovax. It's Selenia. Miri instinctively leaps forward. The Dark Angel slashes open Miri's abdomen and prepares to deliver the death blow. Krovax wildly flails his sword at Selenia, weeping for all he has lost. She also sobs as she defends herself, then suddenly freezes, deliberately allowing one of Krovax's wild swings to strike home. She explodes in a burst of black and white mana that swirls around Krovax and forces its way onto his body. Selenia's destiny is fulfilled. Krovax's curse is set in motion, and he is ultimately condemned for killing all that he loves. He collapses onto Selenia's sword and grows pale as death, but his breathing continues as fangs push their way through his gums.
Cool.
That actually is kind of cool. So he's being, you know what I liken it to? Do you ever see Spider-Man 3?
No.
The one with Venom?
No.
Okay. It's good that you haven't seen it because boy, would you make fun of it like crazy. So this is probably better for everyone, but this is like when the black Venom covers Peter Parker. He's changing.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So we got this solved now. So Krovax is kind of becoming a bad guy. Gerard decides that Karn and Tangarth must take Miri and Krovax to the ship and remain there while he and Stark continue to search for Sisay and Takara. Stark's directions and the Minotaur's innate ability should get them safely back to the ship. So Gerard says, Karn, Tangarth, take Miri and Krovax out of here. Me and Stark got this. See about that. Karn and Tangarth work their way to the Weatherlight. Karn pauses. He senses the legacy, which can only mean that the pieces are assembled and close by. This is far too important to leave behind. And so the two separate. Tangarth carries Miri and Krovax to the ship, and Karn follows the pull of the legacy.
It's pretty weird to pair Karn and Tangarth.
Okay.
Like if I was coming up with little, tactical squad missions, I would probably not pair the two of them.
Okay.
Because you have this like tremendously violent and skilled fighter alongside a pacifist.
Yeah.
It seems like there's no way they could synergize.
I don't think they'd get along very much.
Right. So this is actually a pretty good story beat here of having them split up.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Karn finds the artifacts guarded by the Sliver Queen, a gargantuan beast that constantly generates myriad baby slivers. She rears up to attack, but he points to the legacy and tells her that they are part of him. He demonstrates how the pieces fit inside him. She understands and responds by summoning her slivers back to her body. She allows Karn to reclaim the legacy. I mean, we don't even get a fight.
It's also a little weird of having something that sentient and sort of empathetic.
Yeah.
When the rest of the slivers are, I understand Sliver Queen's kind of like the one-off leader or whatever, but it's a little odd.
Meanwhile, Stark explains to Gerard that the quickest way to reach the Dream Halls is through a nearby garden. As soon as they reach the garden, a great shadow appears overhead and Gerard drags Stark under a large plant. They stare up at the Predator as it sails by. That'll be Predator flagship for those of you at home. Helmed by Griven Il Vec. Then comes a sudden thunderous barrage of cannon fire close by. As they prepare to move on, the spikes, vicious slug-like creatures, fall from above to attack the pair. Gerard beats the spikes back into the grass, but loses track of Stark. After a quick search, he finds Stark gagged and immobilized by a tangle of blood-sucking vines as they feed. Gerard cuts the weakened Stark free and they escape from the predatory garden. All right, Gerard's earning his keep now a little bit here.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing some good work. Deeper in the Stronghold, they find that the tower containing the Dream Halls is covered with a series of intertwining balconies, but has no main entrance. The only way in seems to be through the balconies. Stark watches nervously as Gerard struggles to climb the tower's rolling flowstone exterior. Gerard reaches the top and pulls himself inside. There he is bombarded by spectacular visions that are amazing and horrifying. So now we're in the Dream Halls, which is one of the more important cards in this set, right?
It's going to win some awards at the end.
Yeah, so this is a real card that's going on here. So what they've done here as we continue to mosey on through this, not that much more left, by the way, is that they're doing like a really nice job of like building a world and then making cards out of the world.
Absolutely. Finally. So we can go back and look at some of the earlier sets that are kind of renowned for their flavor.
Yeah.
Legends and Homelands probably come to mind. Those are not really telling stories. They're like little vignettes, which is fine. But in here, going through this, and it was true in Tempest also.
Yep.
when you're laying out the story, when you're talking about it out loud, it's like, oh, I know a card name or piece of art that's referencing that story beat. It's telling a very compact story through the set.
Yeah.
As opposed to giving you a general lay of the land.
And there's a ton of that in this set and Tempest and presumably Exodus when we get there. So let's keep going. Gerard reaches the top and pulls himself inside, bombarded, spectacular visions, yada, yada, yada. He sees himself in Vul, his blood brother. As boys at Vul's rite of passage, young Gerard intervenes to save Vul's life, costing Vul his ascension to Sidar of the War Clan. He sees Vul's father, Sidar Kondo, only to witness the Sidar's horrible death as Vul and his forces destroy the War Clan. In another dream, awful shapes combine to make one dark presence that transforms and corrupts Vul, bestowing great powers upon him. Here, among Volrath's dreams, Gerard at last understands that Vul wanted his destiny with the War Clan and was forced to trade it in for this one. What a jerk Gerard is. Volrath's disembodied voice echoes through the chamber. The ghosts of the past are joined by images of Volrath's dreams for the future. He and his dark armies conquering the lands and inhabitants of Dominaria, Gerard tortured at his feet. Gerard calls Volrath's true name, Vul, son of the Sidar who raised them both, the thief who stole Gerard's legacy. Volrath's voice bitterly replies that Gerard was unworthy of the clan. His own parents left him the legacy, and he dishonors their gift by abandoning it, refusing even to wear the hourglass pendant they valued so highly. Dude, these two hate each other.
Yeah, also, Volrath is correct. You are an embarrassment.
He's right. Hey, you know.
Yeah. When he's right, he's right.
You ruined everything.
Yeah.
Gerard coolly tells Volrath that he deliberately left the pendant behind, knowing that it was undoubtedly a secondary target in Volrath's scheme. Volrath taunts him. It would have been much harder to capture Gerard if he brought it. Volrath casually vows to recover the pendant and exploit its power, and promises that Gerard will divulge its location in exchange for a quick death. Volrath goes on to mock Gerard's predictability. He knew Gerard would come to Sisay, not out of loyalty, but because his pride would not allow anything to be taken from him. Everything Gerard has done from the moment he set foot in Rath has been anticipated and countered.
Correct.
When you're right, you're right.
Yep.
At last, Volrath himself appears, wearing a glowing helmet. Just then, Stark emerges from the dream visions, his dagger raised high, and plunges it into Volrath's back. Volrath whirls, flinging his former friend and mentor from him. He casually pulls the weapon free and throws it down. There's a trickle of blood, and then the wound closes over. Volrath faces Gerard again and reminds him of everything that Gerard has cost him, and of everything that Gerard will yet lose. As Volrath retreats into the recesses of the dream halls, Gerard is set upon by two sword-wielding figures, a red-haired woman and Sisay. Their eyes glow with the same pale energy as Volrath's helmet. Gerard moves to strike down the red-haired warrior, but Stark cries out that she is his daughter, Takara. She slashes out with her sword, crossing her father's eyes with its tip and blinding him. Stark crumbles. We got a little bit of family drama now. Mm-hmm. Remember, this is why Stark is here. He's gonna
he's got some other thing going on.
He's going to turn on Gerard at some point, and now his daughter's kind of showing up, so doesn't have much longer to align with these people before him and his daughter get out of here, even though his daughter just cut his eyes. So, you're going to have to unpack that at home. Gerard realizes he'll have to disarm Takara while simultaneously dealing with Sisay, who is formidable. He is quickly able to maneuver Takara backwards, tripping her over Stark. As Takara goes down, Sisay rushes Gerard to deliver a killing stroke. He parries, overbalances her, and lands a solid blow to her forehead with the pommel of his sword. Stunned, Sisay drops to the floor. Gerard charges out of the room after Volrath. So he's taking care of this problem. Now he's going to go get the big bad guy, his half-bro. He finally confronts Volrath at the far end of the chamber, where stairs descend to the bridges below. As they begin to battle, Tangarth roars up the stairs, sword in hand. Play one way. Mm-hmm. he only knows one thing.
Yeah, play one way.
Fight you. Together, Gerard and Tangarth press their advantage against the en-Kor. Gerard cleaves Volrath's helmet with an overhand blow that sends the villain stumbling. Tangarth bellows in triumph as Volrath falls. But even as Gerard strikes the fatal blow, he sees fresh scratch marks on Volrath's hand and realizes the truth. The body quickly changes into the shapeshifter that Miri clawed in the laboratory. It's not him. Oh my God.
It's like Dr. Doom and the Doombots.
I don't know the Doombots.
Like little robotic clones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And sometimes the Fantastic Four think they've got Dr. Doom, but it's just a Doombot.
They just never have Dr. Doom.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we get Dr. Doom right?
So it's also a little strange that So there's the scene above where Stark stabs Volrath in the back.
Yeah.
And the wound just sort of like closes up.
Yeah.
Indicating he's got some sort of regeneration or superpower.
Yeah.
And then they fight later and it's just, they just brain him and he loses like.
Yeah, sure.
He's got no superpowers.
Yeah.
Are you talking? You were saying something about Dr. Doom?
I'm just saying, can we get him right in the movie?
Oh,
Can we get him right one
I'm a
time?
big Dr. Doom fan.
I love Dr. Doom.
If you notice this Klug altar over here,
Yeah.
Dr. Doom on the Doom blade. This is off screen, but I've got a Dr. Doom inflatable doll up there. Big source of inspiration.
I'm very pro Dr. Doom.
Me too.
Gerard is furious. He demands to know how Tangarth got there. Tangarth explains that he tracked Gerard and Stark to his tower. A doorway opened briefly, possibly an escape route for Volrath, and he jumped through. Gerard picks up Volrath's shattered helmet and insists that they hunt for the en-Kor, but Tangarth emphatically says no. They came to rescue Sisay. Gerard reluctantly leads him back to the others, his rage at Volrath barely contained. I mean, Tangarth is right.
Tangarth is right, and Volrath is confirmed to be correct here.
Mm-hmm.
That is, that Gerard's not actually interested in saving someone as such. This is just a way to stroke his own ego.
Priorities have
Confirmed.
changed. It's true.
It's not even trash talk or idle speculation. It's confirmed in the next scene.
They enter the dream halls to find that Takara has bandaged her father's eyes. The group collects itself and Sisay regains consciousness. Recognizing Stark as the traitor who caused her capture, she angrily advances on him. Takara steps between Sisay and her wounded father to defend him, but Gerard quickly quells the conflict. They must work together as a team, or they will never get out of the stronghold alive. Somewhere below, the sounds of warfare howl. From deep within the stronghold, Volrath's voice booms, echoing through its halls. All forces engage in invasion response tactics. Destroy our enemies. Destroy our enemies. To be continued in the Exodus episode of the Resleevables. What do you think?
We don't have any code names.
What do you mean?
Kill our enemies, destroy our enemies.
What
all hands report.
What are they supposed to say?
You can't just add some sort of Tango Bravo Alpha code word.
Sure.
So the people, or some way of broadcasting it that's not over a megaphone. Maybe they would be caught off guard potentially if they thought it was safe to escape.
No, just loud,
little sloppy,
loud and proud.
But Volrath also plays one way.
Yeah, he's aggro.
Yeah,
he's aggro. So that's your lore, which is basically, all right, we saved Sisay. We got a lot to unpack about how we saved Sisay and Stark is blind now and all this other stuff. But now we got to get out of the stronghold.
Right.
That's what's coming up next, and I think that's what the Exodus storyline will be. So again, if you enjoyed our lore here, we're learning some stuff about the Weatherlight saga. And just, look, am I a big lore guy? No. However, this is apparently like the big story in Magic.
Well, I'm becoming more of a lore person doing this sort of thing.
I am too.
Because what I really appreciate, the storytelling, whatever. Sometimes I think it's better or worse than others.
Okay.
But what I do appreciate is Magic has made a conscious effort to weave in card design and names and art to communicate the story. And sometimes they do it through more generalized vignettes. And sometimes, like here, it's really narrow, really drilled in. The story about the bridge, that's Ensnaring Bridge.
Yep.
And there's a bunch of different examples of that throughout the set. But I do appreciate the craft of how do you make the story come through in the cards? And that's something that I think, Magic has had a bunch of different ways of doing it. And I think the expression here is, it's pretty straightforward. But the set is littered with cards that reference this story beats.
There's a lot of intent here, which I think is pretty cool. So more for you about them getting out of the stronghold and probably going to the erratic portal. And I know we didn't see your guy Airtie. He's busy with the portal and the shadow folk, but he's going to show up in Exodus. So that's it for lore. Here come the mechanics right after this. All right, everybody, we are back for the mechanics of Stronghold. The lore was fun, but now we got to get to the en-Kors, the Lycids, the spikes, all sorts of fun stuff. So let's start with the aforementioned en-Kors, which Stronghold introduced. These weird creatures that have damage redirection abilities associated with them. There are 5, and here are the 5: Lancers en-Kor, Nomads en-Kor, Shaman en-Kor, Spirit en-Kor, and Warrior en-Kor. Your thoughts on the en-Kor cycle and their damage redirection abilities?
There is something cool here, and I do like the idea of my creatures are interlocking in a way that's satisfying and allows a lot of tactical decision making. I think that's something that the spikes also knock out of the park. 2 issues here. One is it's extremely onboard tricky, and it's connected to the second thing, which is activated costs for 0 that are unbounded are problematic. They come up for different reasons. And, the en-Kors were way more, to the extent they've showed up and constructed, way more about looping triggers than it is about actually doing the thing.
Yep.
The spikes ostensibly have an onboard trickiness to them too. You can move counters around, but it's just so different when it costs mana.
Mm-hmm.
When your opponent has mana up, you're supposed to sort of tune in of, I should be paying attention to their cards. They have cards in their hand. Stuff can happen. And you're more likely to check in on what they have on the table too. And when things cost 0, it's just happening with no shields down, and it's infinitely repeatable. So there's some cool elements here, and I think I would feel very differently about these if it just, you needed to pay 1 mana, because then we're not talking about unbounded looping anymore. And it really pushes back against the onboard trickiness of them.
Okay. Now Stronghold also did bring back some previous mechanics. Again, this is the second set and a 3-set block. So unsurprisingly, they're going to try to run some stuff back here. So for you Buyback Shadow fans, we got both of those back. We also have Slivers, Licit, Spikes, and Flowstone to go over. But we're going to start with Buyback, which, if you don't remember, is a keyword ability that appears on instants and sorceries that provides an optional additional cost that the player casting the spell with Buyback may pay as they cast it. If the player does, as the spell finishes resolving, the spell card is put back into its owner's hand rather than into their graveyard. Today we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We've got 9 Buyback cards. These are a little bit better than Tempest, some could argue. White has Change of Heart. Blue has Mind Games. Black has Brush with Death, Lab Rats, and Mind Peel. Red has Fanning the Flames and Seething Anger, and green has Constant Mists and Verdant Touch. We have different ways of paying the buyback cost as well. So go ahead and wax some poetic about this.
Okay, so well established about buyback fan. This is moving the needle kind of in a better direction in that a lot of these designs have way more rate nested in just doing the thing up front and not buying it back than the examples in Tempest, particularly Capsize and Whispers of the Muse.
Okay.
It's interesting to me that Constant Mists is here because that is a buyback that is not mana. And it's pretty easy to understand how you would get there because Fog with buyback is about as bad as it gets if it's just mana.
Yes.
It's even more lockouty than Capsize is because there's no hope of me even just playing 2 cards in one turn. So Sacrifice the Land is, well, now you can't really do it forever unless you're putting in a lot of work. Something else is going on. That's really cool, but it makes me wonder why more of the designs aren't that way. Once you have the technology of what if buyback costs for something other than mana? So it's something that's a little bit different. And also it means that we don't have to worry about it getting bought back in perpetuity, assuming that it's sacrificing lands or paying life or whatever. You could imagine designs that do that. And because it's set 2 of the block, you would like for things to be a little bit different. I'm surprised seeing Constant Mists that they didn't lean into the alternate buyback stuff a little bit more here. There's more of an exodus, which we'll get to. Some all-time horrendous designs.
They're really bad, yeah.
And I think Constant Mists is still a bad design because it's just too lockouty. And even so, yes, you can't fog forever. But fogging forever and fogging for, let's say, 8 turns is not that different.
Isn't that forever, though?
In the scheme of things. But every time I look at Constant Mists, I have this thought of, why was there not more of this in Stronghold? It would be one thing if you just didn't think of doing it until you got to Exodus.
Sure.
But clearly someone did.
They did think of it, yeah.
And it would have improved some of these designs quite a bit if they tinkered around with costs that were not just mana.
The only thing that makes sense to me about Constant Mists and trying the different buyback costs is maybe they were just like, hey, proof of concept that we could do this. Look, I'm not saying that's a strong argument.
No, I think this is my guess is that Constant Mists is the closest thing you can do to having a buyback that is mana without having a buyback that is mana.
Okay.
Like Static Eagle Lands and pay mana are sort of analogous. They are somewhat on the same track, but I'm just sort of speculating.
All right, we are moving on to Shadow, which is a keyword ability on creatures that serves as both an evasion ability and a blocking restriction. Only 3 cards with Shadow this time around. White has Saltari Champion, blue has Thalicos Deceiver, and black has Dothy Trapper. Now I ask you, why do we have so few Shadow cards this time?
It's very weird unless they feel that Shadow is more flavor-wise appropriate for the world of Tempest than it is for the very narrow subset that's being shown in Stronghold.
Okay.
Again, I think this mechanic is pretty bad, but these are steps in the right direction.
Okay.
One of the designs that bothers me the most in Tempest is Dothy Slayer. It's like must attack, and it's like, yeah, no shit. What else was? I'm certainly not blocking with this thing. It can't block anything. So moving a little bit more into attack triggers and if this attack did not blocked, which is the case in the instance of the blue one. Okay. So it's moving it away from just like, yeah, this is just 2/2 unblockable for 2. And a little bit more about, tactically doing stuff or pumping your other stuff or whatever. I really like the Sultai Champion a lot too, because it kind of plays well with non-shadow creatures in a way that the other shadow designs don't. Because an issue with shadow is that once I have some shadow creatures in my deck, I kind of want to be playing nothing but shadow.
Yeah, you either want all shadow or no shadow.
Because you want everything to be unblockable.
Yeah.
In the case of the champion, it's like, okay, well now non-shadow stuff might be big enough to get through things in combat. It still works with the shadow stuff. It's generic enough that it is just whatever. Okay. But I think these designs are, I'll say this, they are vast improvements over the shadow designs in Tempest.
I agree with that. Yeah. Yeah. They tried some stuff here instead of just put shadow on a 2/2.
Wow.
Yeah. Really?
Must attack, huh?
That's right.
Although that card, Dothy Slayer, does involve one of my favorite PTQ stories of all time. Okay. Which I was at the tournament, but this was not my match, of someone beating Mindslaver Luck with Dothy Slayer.
Love it.
Cannot Mindslaver your way out of that one. Sorry.
Take it. Take 2 more. Take 2 more, pal. Love that.
So I guess there's that.
Let's go over to slivers once again. These are cards with the creature type sliver. They have the ability or inability or characteristic that they share with other slivers. Each sliver shares with all slivers in play. These are the early ones. So Tempest, Stronghold, Legion, Scourge, Time Spiral, Planar Chaos, and Future Sight. They were hooking up everybody, both yours and mine, while slivers later only affected the player side of the board. So in Magic 2014, Magic 2015, Modern Horizons, Commander Masters, my slivers only impact me. So you can see some noticeable differences on how the cards are actually written out. But the ones here in this set, they're helping out everybody's slivers. There are 6 of them. There's Acidic Sliver, Crystalline Sliver, busted. Hibernation Sliver,
busted also.
True. Spine Sliver. Boy, I don't know how to say this one. Victual? What do you think that is?
I don't see the word.
Victual?
Victual?
All right, Victual Sliver.
I think does that mean tasty?
Little.
Maybe. I'll Google in a second. Last one's Sliver Queen.
I'm not familiar with that word. But if it's the green white one, I assume it's.
I'm going to learn myself a little something here.
All right, let's check it out.
VIC. Where's your backspace? This biggest computer on earth.
Yeah, you got the big rig.
Yeah. My God. Food or provisions?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were some context clues, but you were right on.
Not bad.
Well done. Okay. I've never seen that word before. Magic is a great way to learn new words. It's a really appreciated aspect of the game.
It was legit helpful for my vocabulary in middle school.
Extremely helpful for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it still is today. I just see some words I've never seen before. So this was the green white sliver. Yeah. Okay. Oh, it's kind of fat. Yeah. There's some food in there.
It's a big old boy.
Also, you sacrifice it and gain some life. Okay.
Yeah, sweet.
Anyway, these multicolored slivers and maybe the most important sliver in Magic history, Sliver Queen.
It's up there. Maybe not in a tournament sense, but although it did have a little bit of burn there from time to time. These designs are so great.
They continue to be really good.
The slivers are naturally a multicolor experience.
Yeah.
Gold slivers, they give you some definition, but are also just really good on rate if you're doing the sliver thing. Mm-hmm. Incredible. Some of these are really busted, though. The blue ones are just outrageous.
So Hibernation Sliver is really good. I know that. And I didn't play during when you could play. There's a deck that I don't know how well it did in Pro Tour, so counter slivers.
Yeah.
Is this a Grand Prix deck or a Pro Tour deck?
People played it at the Pro Tour. I played against this in PTQs from time to time.
Okay. Yeah. Because basically, I don't know if we're ever going to record a video with it in the Resleevables Tournament Edition. But Hibernation Sliver and then Crystalline Sliver is just, whoo boy.
Yeah.
What a card.
Yeah.
What a card.
So the sort of the core of this deck was you had the Merfolk experience of, I play with Force of Will and some other counter spells, and I'm beating down quickly and things are evasive, but your creatures are individually way stronger than the Merfolk are. It's kind of changed over the years because they've made so many Merfolk lords that they are kind of sort of slivery now.
Yeah, the whole deck is just lords, basically.
Yeah, there's not that much definition, but back in the day, these were kind of the first time that sort of experience showed up in large volume in a tournament sense.
Licit's time. So nice they did it twice. Licits are cards that have the ability to become an aura, targeting other creatures, representing melding with the host. Thematically cool. Execution, not great. One in each color. White has calming Licit. Blue has gliding Licit. Black has corrupting Licit. Red has convulsing Licit. And green has tempting Licit. Cool names. I can say that.
It's also a little rough that these are basically creature keyword Licits that themselves don't have it. It would be so much easier to understand these things if it was there's a Winddrake and it gives flying. Okay, fine. I kind of get what's going on there.
Okay.
But all these are gray ogres.
Yeah.
Which really hurts the memorization part.
That's actually a really good point.
But you just run out of space on these things.
Yeah. So if you see a Licit between us right now, the card has just a lot of words on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they all do.
Yeah. It's an intense. Yeah. I mean, Magic nowadays would just not spell out how the card works.
That's true.
They would just go Licit target creature.
Yeah.
And then
it's up to you.
You have to go find the rules insert or whatever.
Yeah, it's funny because that's actually definitely what they do.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Spikes.
That's why I'm worried. It's would they ever consider bringing Licit back? Well, the way they play with fast and loose with the text boxes now.
Yeah, that's true.
The issue with the Licits are not that they're too complicated, it's that they're too long.
Yeah. And
what if we just didn't describe what they did?
Yeah. Okay. Well,
simple.
Somebody from Wizards watching this, don't get any ideas. Spikes. They're cards that are green 0/0 creatures with a quote, this enters the battlefield with a number of +1/+1 counters on it, end quote, and quote, 2 generic mana, remove a +1/+1 counter from this, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, end quote. Last set, we only had 1. It was Spike Drone. This set, we got 5. We got Spike Breeder, Spike Colony, Spike Feeder, Spike Soldier, and Spike Worker. You loved Spike Drone, so there's no way you don't love these.
Yeah, they're great. Their impact in competitive constructed was a little bit rough because they just play so powerfully alongside Oath of Druids. But people also just played these just on rate. I mean, a very common setup for Oath of Druid decks was a Spike Feeder and a Spike Weaver.
Okay.
So you can't get burned out. You can fog for the rest of the game. And the creatures can just kill themselves whenever you want them to. So you can just keep oathing if that's the thing you want to be doing.
Okay.
But people also play these cards. I mean, Spike Feeder was just a card people played on rate.
I've even played Spike Feeder before.
It showed up in Modern in recent years as part of the combo with the White God.
Yeah, like Birthing Pod deck.
Yeah. And, Weaver is not a weak card against the right decks.
Yep.
These are super fun and cool, and I really love that they synergize with other cards that make +1/+1 tokens. And also you can play these with cards that don't care about +1/+1 tokens and just play it for, moving counters on your Treetop Village or whatever. Still cool.
Yeah, they are really cool.
Yeah.
I would like to see these come back. I don't know what world it would make sense for it to happen, but
I think they could just do it.
Okay.
I mean, You can. They've done mechanics. What was the trying to think of the blue-green mechanic from one of the Ravnica blocks? Moving that
Graft.
Yeah. So they've messed around with some of that stuff. I think you could just do the spikes.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong power level or play pattern wise with it. I don't know if that's something they would necessarily want to do, but I don't see why it would be off limits.
Okay. Last, and maybe one could argue least, is Flowstone. Cards that grant +1/-1 or a multiple thereof. We got 3 in this set. We have Flowstone Hellion, Flowstone Mauler, and Flowstone Shambler. Red cards, obviously. And yeah, just a little +1/-1. There's also like Flowstone Blade, which is an aura, but yeah.
This feels a little bit definition for the sake of definition for me.
Okay.
You have the en-Kor stuff going on in white. You have the spikes in green. You have Shadow really heavily featured in blue and in black. And this feels like, well, red's got to have something going on that people can identify.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this plays just fine. The cards are not super appealing, but they do play relatively well. I appreciate that as far as onboard trickiness goes, they're very unlikely to have a result in combat that's my thing is my Flowstone creature is not dead and your thing is surprise dead.
Yeah, that'd be tough to have happen.
It involves walls, basically.
Sure.
That's the only way it really comes up.
Okay.
So as far as onboard tricky creatures go, I think these play better, come with less downside than a lot of them do.
Now, normally this is the point where I'd play a game with Patrick around creature types, but unfortunately, folks, there are no new creature types introduced in this set. So no games to play.
So it goes.
Yeah, Frown Town, maybe an Exodus, but we'll of course play the game as often as we can when sets do allow. But what that means is that we're done with the mechanics of Stronghold. So we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we are going to dive into a couple of cycles here on the Resleevables. All right, everybody, it is now time to dive into the cycles portion of Stronghold. But before we do, shout out to our sponsor of the segment, Brian Colville's YouTube channel, Bosch and Roll. Head over to youtube.com/Bosch and Roll to watch Eternal Constructed Specialist Brian Colville play a new Eternal deck every single weekday. With over 1,000 videos in his YouTube archive, if there's a certain Eternal card or deck that you want to see in action, Brian has almost certainly played with it, and there will be video for you to watch of it. Best of all, Brian is outrageously good at Magic, as he's a SCG Tour Invitational Champion, a Grand Prix Champion, and an Eternal Weekend Vintage Champion. YouTube.com/Bosch and Roll, where Magic history is played every day. All right, everybody. Stronghold has 3 cycles compared to Tempest. I think they had 9 or 10, so we don't have a ton here. And the first one we've already gone over, so we'll just run through this here real quick. It's Lissids. Each of these common 1/1 Lissid creatures had a mana cost of 1 and a color, and the ability to turn itself into an aura enchantment, attaching itself to a creature or back to its normal state. Calming Lissid, Gliding Lissid, Corrupting Lissid, Convulsing Lissid, Tempting Lissid. We do that in case you skipped ahead to this portion that's showing we're here for the mechanics. So we got you covered. Now, what we haven't talked about, the other 2, walls.
Real quick note on the cycles here.
Yeah.
There's so many in Tempest and so few here.
Yeah.
And you may wonder why. And the reality is that when you're talking about sets this small, it just is a ton of space.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, 5 designs is the 3% of the total set.
Mm-hmm.
When you're talking about making 300 cards, then you have a lot more wiggle room for cycles that maybe aren't necessarily carrying a lot of weight, but tell a certain story, or it's just kind of a pet project of a designer, whatever. But once the set gets much smaller, it's harder to fit the stuff in.
Yeah. Because I assume that the set, which this one has, I think it's 143 cards. Like, that's like when this is happening, that's a rigid number, right?
Typically,
yeah. Like you can't go like, can we do 148? Like that just doesn't happen, probably.
I mean, I've worked on sets where there is some wiggle room and some whether it's not. It's one of those things where if you do it early on, typically you can change around the numbers a little bit. But once you get to this point, later in the file's life or whatever you want to call it, printing sheets become a huge externality on adding or subtracting cards, because usually it's balanced by the sheets, and keeping the symmetry, if you want it, among rares, uncommons, and commons typically means that you have to add and subtract in multiples of 3 rather than just 1, which makes it another tricky thing. So I would guess, based on my working experience, early on, we're projecting 200 cards, but maybe we want to do 190, maybe we want to do 210, depending on our budget or what we're trying to do. And if we catch it early enough, we can get it done. But pretty soon thereafter, it's the number's the number, and we can't really tinker with it.
Well, I was going to go to walls as the second cycle, but let me get the allied color slivers out of the way, because we went over those in the mechanics section as well. So each of these uncommon 2/2 sliver creatures are converted mana cost of 2, require 2 allied colors and mana to cast. So crystalline sliver, that's your white-blue sliver. Hibernation sliver is your blue-black sliver. Acidic sliver is your black-red sliver. Spine sliver is your red-green sliver. And again, Victual sliver is your green-white sliver.
Yeah.
So there you go. All right, now back to the walls. This is our third and final cycle. Each of these uncommon wall creatures has a mana cost of 1 and a color, cannot attack, and they have one other ability. So walls had traditionally been shunned by tournament players, but the Stronghold walls were strong enough for tournament decks. Wall of Blossoms in particular became a core part of many decks, as it provided green with card draw, which was rare at the time. So here's our 5 walls very quickly. Wall of Essence, Wall of Tears, Wall of Souls, Wall of Razors, and the aforementioned Wall of Blossoms. Now, I know that Wall of Blossoms was a tournament card, but is this little factoid that I found here true? That these walls were good enough for tournament play?
It's overstating the case. Wall of Blossoms showed up all over the place. I think the white one was a halfway decent sideboard card, but compared to things like Warmth and Light of Day, just the Tempest ones are just so outrageous that there is no reason to go to options this modest.
Okay.
I think this is a pretty cool set of designs, generally speaking, as far as walls go. It's a little rough to do 5 in a set that is this small. It's also a little rough to do Rolling Stone, a beloved casual card, in a set where 4 of these can attack.
Right.
Only Wall of Razors plays well with Rolling Stone.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so
I didn't think about that.
It would be nice, you know, I don't know how you're supposed to balance these, but oh, wow, look at this cool card I just opened. Let me find the other walls. It's like, can't attack, can't attack, can't attack, can't attack.
But imagine if they could. Put some listeds on those things.
You can.
Then what?
Get your Wall of Swords out.
I wish I had a sword right now in my hand, but I don't. Those are the cycles of Stronghold. Again, nothing really exciting. We went over 2 of them in the mechanics section, and then walls alongside Rolling Stones. So, you know, nothing crazy going on here. But good news. The trivia section, which apparently many of you liked during the Tempest portion. It's pretty beefy. It's not as beefy as Tempest, but we got some fun stuff to talk to you about right after this. All right, everybody. It is trivia time here on the Stronghold episode of the Resleevables. Now, as I mentioned, our Tempest episode had a very beefy trivia section, and we have decided to bring some things back from that one, like Stronghold and its 6 reprints. Cloud Spirit, first printed in Portal. Actually, all of these cards are. Craven Giant, Serpent Warrior, Spined Worm, Tidal Surge, and Venerable Monk. So nice, they had to bring them back.
I actually don't mind going through the Portal sets to just find workman-like commons for draft or whatever.
Seems fine.
It's appropriate. And a lot of these are designs that are appealing and play well. There's no reason not to do it.
Who's it harming?
Right.
Right? It's all, whatever.
And also the rare times that someone's Portal card becomes tournament legal. It's happened a handful of times.
That's got to be cool.
It's cool. Yeah, I mean, I remember playing with Portal Volcanic Hammers in Red Deck wins for a little while. And, you know, the fact that those cards are not tournament legal is a pretty big black eye, in my opinion. So the times where, none of these cards are really tournament staples, but you can imagine if they were, be like, oh, cool. Now my Portal cards actually are playable again.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to banned and restricted cards from Stronghold. Well, it's our first mention of this. Second mention, technically, a Hermit Druid.
Yeah.
Was banned in the first Legacy ban list in 2004 and is still banned today in Legacy. Just not allowed. I just hit my mic. Sorry, I'm not allowed.
This is another, this is much like Curse Scroll, and will win an award later on from me.
Okay.
Which is, there's so much complexity and unappealing nature of this card obfuscates its straightforward busted purpose.
Yeah.
Which is, if you have no basics in your deck, flip your deck over.
Yeah, put it right in the garbage.
Right.
And you're probably going to kill him somehow.
Yeah. I mean, it works. You know, you can do like, you know, Dread Return.
Oh,
Lab Meeting. Yeah.
No, there's no world you could make this card legal now.
Yeah. I mean, I played in a Pro Tour where Hermit Druid was legal. I did not win very much.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, my deck contained Spike Feeder and Spike Weaver. So we were both playing with a heavy sampling of Stronghold cards, but Hermit Druid was better than the Spikes.
Mox Diamond is the second card to mention here. It was banned in Vintage in 1999, but unbanned in the first Legacy ban list announcement in 2004. You can play Mox Diamond in, I think, everything. You know, like Legacy, Vintage. Obviously, you can play in Legacy. It's in the lands deck.
I think it's restricted in Vintage and just legal in Legacy.
I'll do a quick check here.
I'd be shocked if you could play 4 of these, but I guess it's possible.
In Vintage, I just have it being as legal on Strifle.
Wow. Okay, cool.
I mean, it's a format that doesn't play that many lands.
No, I understand the reason why it wouldn't be. I just assumed that all the 0-mana acceleration got restricted at some point.
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
Okay. Really powerful card. Gonna win some awards later in the show. No, I mean, to me, it's just my only real note on this card is, I don't know, someone on the designer development team was like, man, I miss Moxes. Is there a way to make a Mox that's not overpowered? And I like, kinda.
Well, we talked a little bit about this in the Tempest episode too, of the medallions and trying to capture the magic of the Moxes. It's not limited to just the Moxes. Magic over the course of the, you know, let's call it Ice Age 4, we're trying to, how do we do the fixed version of X, Y, and Z?
Okay.
Brainstorm versus Ancestral, where you call Lion's Eye Diamond versus Black Lotus. Time Warp versus Time Walk.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to give players a taste of it and leverage the fact that people had an understanding of these effects being powerful. Diminishing Returns versus Time Twister and Alliance is another example of this. So I appreciate this for the same reason that I appreciate the medallions, which is it is not strictly worse.
Yep.
The fact that it makes 5 colors means it's just different, even though this is clearly less powerful overall than any of the original Moxes. What I appreciate as like a theory here is the issue with the Moxes, or part of the issue with the Moxes, is having multiple in your opening hand is just too much.
Yep.
And this is pretty naturally gated in terms of how effective the second copy is. Still has moments in Legacy where, you know, oh, I have 2 Moxes and a Loam, and now this is so sick.
Yeah.
So it's not 0 on that front, but it does mean in the normal use case, the second Mox Diamond you draw is probably not helping you very much.
Yeah, I would agree with you. The first one's really good.
Yeah.
But then, the second and third and fourth ones are
much worse.
Yeah.
Maybe they're still powerful, but they're way worse than the first copy.
Yeah.
Which is not true of Mox Sapphire and Friends.
Yeah. Last card to mention here is Dream Halls, which was banned in 1999 in multiple formats before being unbanned in Legacy in September of 2009. I do remember Dream Halls being unbanned. The memory that stands out to me is Chris Van Meter mushing people with like mono blue show and tell that also had Dream Halls in Legacy.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that. And this was when it could play Dig Through Time and just a bunch of cantrips and stuff. And maybe it played Hive Mind, maybe it didn't. I really can't remember, but I remember CVM mashing some people with that. Dream Halls during your time, really good.
Busted.
Okay.
Completely busted. Not even close to okay.
Yeah, figured.
Another card that keep an eye out when we get to Urza's Saga.
Yeah, sure.
Because Dream Halls, pretty good with Time Spiral.
Oh.
And I want to keep an eye out on that one.
Oh, you should.
It's a weird feature, I think, of these Rath and Saga blocks where Rosewater was much heavier influence on the development side, because there's two key features here that you would assume are at odds with each other, but sort of demonstrate the same thing. One thing to love, spells that are free. Dream Halls is just everything is free for the rest of the game. Yep. And then you get to Saga Block, and the cards that untap your lands are free or sometimes better than free.
Yep.
So on one, you have one tentpole, which is free stuff. And then you have another tentpole, which is lands that tap for 8 mana.
Yeah, sure.
And it's like, I can kind of see really liking one or the other, but you really don't need to do both at the same time. Anyway, I digress.
Or do you? Here's our one piece of random trivia. The only piece of trivia I could find is that Dan Frazier's brother and mother posed as Eldamri and the Oracle on Vec, respectively, for the art on the card Awakening. Cool. No cap. Just cool. All right. Notable cards. It's here to stay. I see you, YouTubers. I see you, Patreons, aka Jackal Pups, and it's here to stay. So, notable cards. Kick it off with white. This is funny. This is the first card I'm going to mention. This is the last ad I did to this episode. The card Bandage.
Mm-hmm.
You know what Bandage does?
I think is it a cantrip, prevent one or something?
Single white, prevent one, draw a card.
Yep.
Do you remember the deck Parfait in Legacy?
Uh-huh.
It's mono white control with Scroll Rack and land tax.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it played these so you could beat Goblin Lackey.
Sure.
It played like 2 copies of this card.
Sick.
Because like you had 4 swords, but like you just needed a little bit more. So if they had like a turn 1 Lackey and they like hit you, you're like bandage it, think, just draw a card, find a solution to this stupid card. Because that's how good Goblins was when Legacy kind of first started in a meaningful way back in the 2006, 2005, somewhere around that time. So I remember that. Sacred Ground. Any memories?
Well, this is like Pyramids, except it actually works.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I have a vague recollection of this being in sideboards, but I could be making that up.
It was in sideboards. I'm not convinced it was ever good.
Sure.
But it was a card that it's a card I know I played in sideboard when I was like okay at competitive Magic.
2 manas. You could actually do that before all your lands get blown up.
Yeah.
Yeah. In contrast to Pyramids, which is 6 mana and then 2 to untap.
Tough.
And then their land destruction deck is screwed.
That's right. That's right. We're going to move on to blue now. We've already talked about Dream Halls. Anything else worth noting here? No?
Yeah, it's just super busted, and people don't really know about it because it just got banned so fast.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is it's a weird one to put so many PowerPoints into.
Any evacuation stories?
Evacuation stories. Is this card legal in Commander?
Let me check. Let's see what Scryfall says. Scryfall says yes.
Okay.
I'm a little surprised about that.
I mean, it's a card I occasionally played in sideboards when I wasn't very good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's purpose.
Yep.
But then, eventually they just made Hibernation, and the people you wanted that sort of thing against were green players. It's possible that card would have had a pretty serious purpose if it was legal during Rebels.
Okay. Intruder Alarm?
Very fun. No, it's a cool design.
It is a cool design.
I think that the thing that you're supposed to, and it does facilitate some level of looping. So it's got some of the unbounded trigger issues that the en-Kor and a lot of the other stuff in the set do. But this is a fun, there's a lot to think about there.
And then the last card I have here in blue is Mana Leak. Which is just a good card that so they made a new version of it in No More Lies, which is white-blue Mana Leak. It's a white and a blue. It's a Mana Leak. And then, like, if you counter the spell, it's exiled.
Yeah.
A long time. There's a long gap between when a Mana Leak style card was legal in Standard and when it wasn't. They did stuff like, I don't know, Quench, a bunch of other Rune Snag, a bunch of other stuff, because it seemed like they purposely didn't want Mana Leak to be legal in Standard. It's like kind of back now.
So my opinion on Mana Leak as it pertains to Standard is that it's too powerful / the incentives are too bad to do, but not by very much.
Okay.
I think that, they have a whole history of counterspell Mana Leaks that counter for 2 or 4 under condition plus kicker Runestein being one that you just mentioned. I think that once you're talking about a blue and a white to cast versus a blue and a colorless, totally fine to do Mana Leak Plus at that point.
Yep.
I think that when you're talking about blue instead of blue 1, Mana Leak again would be a totally fine thing to do.
Okay.
So again, not off by much, but I think this implementation is just a little too easy to splash. And it's like, well, no one's really building a cool deck that involves this. It's just kind of about knocking out game actions.
Yeah.
But once you force someone to play a second color, then we're talking about a real opportunity cost. It makes it way harder to cast the second copy in the same turn, which is something that Mana Leak is very easy to do, relatively speaking. So I can appreciate just not doing it, but doing variations that are like 90% of the way there with slightly better incentives, because I don't think Mana Leak is over by that much.
We're going to move on to black cards now. My first one here is Grave Pact.
This is another one of several cards in the set, that were multiplayer cards before Commander was really a thing.
Yeah.
It's one of the bright spots about Stronghold is there's just a lot of individual designs that are really sweet in a multiplayer setting. And even if Commander is a relatively recent phenomenon in Magic's history, people playing multiplayer is not. Played all sorts of pickup games. And this card, Awakening, Intruder Alarm, there's just cards with a cool multiplayer context in the set.
Next one up is Megrim.
Beloved casual card.
It really is.
This was one of the cards when I first started working at a card shop that it was like a money uncommon we couldn't keep in stock, et cetera, et cetera. Very light in terms of a tournament resume, except for the brief moment in time that you could play Memory Jar in Standard.
Oh.
I want to repeat, play Memory Jar in Standard.
Well, how many copies? Just one?
Well, 4.
Oh.
Grim Monolith will take key and Tolarian Academy and, whatever. It was a deck.
What's the worst that could happen?
Anyway, Megrim was the preferred kill because it also just means that your memory jars deal 14.
This is the memory I have of this card is super casual.
Mm-hmm.
It's a card, as you mentioned, like at your local store, it just was never in stock.
Never in stock.
Because people are just like, I like discard, and like you take damage, I make you discard. That's cool. But one of the things that always stood out to me is that no one pronounced it the same as somebody else.
Yeah.
Megrim, Megrim. Yeah. Just however they want to pronounce it, they could pronounce it. And I'm not here to correct anybody. So, and then the last black card I have, let me check the old list here. I have Stronghold Assassin.
Sure.
I have a memory of this because it was in the deck that I won my first Grand Prix trial with. Ooh, black, green, can't remember the exact standard format, but black, green, oversold cemetery.
Oh yeah.
Just, here to slice and dice up some creatures and oversold cemetery. You need stuff in the bin to turn your cemetery on. But yeah, you get it. Also, oversold cemetery, one of my favorite cards ever.
Oh yeah. And that's just a perfect Golgari deck because people who love Golgari, there's this experience that I have with them all the time. Okay. Where they're talking about the cool stuff in their deck, but they're literally just reading the text box of each card.
Yep.
It's like oversold cemetery will win 4 more creatures, et cetera, et cetera.
Bring it back.
Because a lot of these synergies, let's say, they are not subtle.
Well, you see, oversold cemetery, I need 4 creatures in the graveyard. Mm-hmm. And undead gladiator cycles. So that's 3 more to go.
And cycling just puts it right in the graveyard.
Right there.
Pay the mana and then you discard it and draw a card. That's how that works.
Basically
now
free.
Just got it in the graveyard.
Yep. Just kind of going off.
Love Golgari synergy, people. Love it.
Me too.
It's nice that people can still get so much satisfaction around the nuts and bolts.
It's funny because in my youth that I was that guy.
Oh, everyone was that person.
I was Golgari.
If you like black green, you're that person.
Mm-hmm. A lot of black green players in Ohio when I was growing up. Mm-hmm. Let's go to the red cards. I'm going to start with Fling.
Yes.
Another favorite, like Megrim. Yeah.
Beloved design. Actually has something of a tournament resume alongside cards like Artbound Ravager and Atog.
I'm going to argue too.
Atog.
Some of the, whatever. Some of the best artwork in Magic history.
Yeah.
This dude with his butt just sending that goblin. Super fun card.
Yeah. Fling's really fun, really dynamic. They make a variety of them because they're cool. And it has shown up from time to time.
Next up, Mog Flunkies.
Yep.
You've probably cast this a time or two.
Pretty recently, actually. Like, not even really that long ago. Yeah, someone sent me a deck tech from a Star City Games Invitational like 10 years ago, and I was playing Bog Flunkies then. It was like Pillar of Flame was in everyone's deck.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah, if you have Mog Flunkies and Mutavault.
So that's game then?
Yeah.
So here's what I remember about Mog Flunkies. When someone had 2 in play, they're always just like, can I attack?
Yeah.
Does anyone know for sure
mm-hmm.
if you can attack or not when you have 2 Mog Flunkies? I think you can.
They can hold hands.
Okay, great. Perfect. I always remember at the local store, people are just like, I have 2 Mog Flunkies, can I attack? And everyone's like, I'm not sure.
Yeah. They can hold hands and walk down the street together.
Awesome. Let's see. Next, red card. Any Mog Maniac memories?
Is this the thing that, like, if you deal damage to it, it deals it to the opponent?
Yeah. It's really pissed.
Yeah. I mean, this was a beloved sort of casual competitive card.
Yeah.
It's very, very combo oriented, but it was never good enough in any of the formats that I recall playing to actually, you were trying to win. That was not the thing to do.
Okay. Rune Nation, destroy all non-basics. Saw some play somewhere, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. First Pro Tour that I played at.
Okay.
So Odyssey was the newest set.
Okay.
So the format, it was extended. And I forget how far back it went, like what sets were legal, but also just the dual lands, the revised dual lands were illegal. That was just a carve out they had for the format at the time.
Okay.
So me, Osip Lovodovich, and Adam Horvath all played the same Obzon cards deck, Riverboa, Spectral Lynx, Hunted Wumpus, whatever.
Okay.
All dual lands and wastelands in the deck, so no basics.
Okay.
So Adam and I bust out, but Osip makes day 2. He's making a little bit of run. He actually ends up top 16 this Pro Tour and kind of is on his way. Top 16 with that deck. Osip was nasty with it.
Okay.
Anyhow, he's playing against Brian Kibler, day 2. He's on some blue-red Illusions of Grandeur donate deck. Kibler mulligans to 5. And Adam and I are watching, and I say to Adam, I think Osip's still going to lose. This matchup's so bad. So, yeah, Kibler mulligans to 5. He's able to intuition for accumulating knowledge, so he's just up and running.
Yeah, so yeah, he's fine.
So Osip plays Hunted Wumpus, and Kibler puts a Morphling and then goes untap Ruination. And that was one that I remember.
I love that Morphling, people look at that card and they're just like, what?
It's just a different animal at the time.
I know.
Damage on the stack is very good with that.
You got to understand, for me, because I'm a few years younger than you, when I'm coming up and I'm hearing all these stories about Morphling, and I'm just like, and it's just like, this card's unbeatable once you untap with it. I'm just like, really? And as a kid, I was just like, man, hope I can own a Morphling one day.
Yeah, it was a tough part of our deck in that tournament. There's a lot of Illusions donate decks that had Morphling in their sideboard, basically because the combo was too hostile to enchantment removal, and you just needed something else to try to win the game with.
Yeah, sure.
Against like pretty much all range of opponents. But our deck happened to be especially bad against Morphling.
Okay.
It wasn't just Morphling was good because our disenchant didn't work anymore. It was like our entire deck on the table could not beat a Morphling.
Sure.
So that was a tough part of that tournament.
Next up is Shard Phoenix.
Yes.
Counter Phoenix was a deck.
Mm-hmm.
I remember hearing about this growing up, was basically just counter spells and the ability to get Shard Phoenix back. You could discard it to forbid. Maybe that's what was going on there.
Yep.
Okay. And it's a recurable. It's not the biggest thing in the world. Now, okay, so let's think about this real quick. Let's say in 2024 they make a new version of Shard Phoenix. It's definitely not a 2/2. So how big is it?
Well, I think there's some sins about Shard Phoenix that they would not replicate today.
Okay.
I think activate this at instant speed for 0 mana is just too horrible.
Let me read. So red, put this in your hand use ability. Only if Shard Phoenix is in your graveyard and only during your upkeep.
No, I'm saying the activated ability.
Oh, the sacrifice it to deal 2. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, that part is just too bad.
Okay.
Sacrifice as a sorcery and or pay mana to sacrifice, I think would be ways you could improve this design and do a version that even had better stats if you wanted to.
Okay.
I mean, part of this is also we're talking about a time where all the best creatures were 2/1s for 1 and 2/2s for 2.
Yeah.
So it was especially good. It was something that Shard Phoenix is pretty bad against is just 3/3s.
Yep.
So if you make enough 3/3s for 2 or 4/4s for 3 with abilities like they do nowadays, this would be pretty modest.
Okay. All right. Last red card worth mentioning. Again, one that you've cast a bunch and I haven't cast as much as you, but enough. Shock.
One of my favorite designs in the set. Big step forward for Magic development.
Okay.
Again, we've talked so much about trying to recapture the magic of alpha. How do we make designs that are as appealing as the cards people understand are very powerful? And at a certain point, you got to just rip the Band-Aid off and say, we're doing shock. We're doing cancel. We're not doing counterspell anymore. We're just doing cancel. And we can do better than cancel in the future if we want to, just like we can do better than shock in the future if we want to. But we can't balance the game around the idea that counterspell and lightning bolts are just baselines in perpetuity.
Yeah.
So it does require some level of confidence to put shock in the booster the first time. It sounds silly to say, but there's going to be a bunch of people who open this and they're just like, why would I ever play with this? Lightning bolt's already a card.
Yep.
So you have to be willing to say, it's going to be a little rough. There's going to be some costs up front, but we're going to live in a much healthier world with this as a baseline, and it's something that we can do better than if we care to, rather than have to negotiate against ourselves around lightning bolt for the rest of the time.
We're going to blow through these green cards here. Hermiture, we've already mentioned. Busted.
Sweet.
Yeah. I imagine at some point we'll play with it on Tournament Edition and kill each other with it. Mulch, nothing crazy going on here, but like saw some playing like some early versions of dredge decks.
Yeah, this is it's put in the graveyard and finding lands and selection. It has a very Golgari experience.
It does.
And it's interesting because, you could imagine saying, why would you want to put it in the graveyard? It's just less appealing that way. Most people would just prefer to put it on the bottom or shuffle. Talking mostly about newer players or more casual players. And it's like, no, put it in the graveyard. We do it every once in a while, and it's just its own thing with its own incentives. And the people who like it will play with it, and the people who don't like it will play with the million other versions that we make that don't put stuff in the graveyard.
Yeah, sure.
Great.
That's fine. Spike Feeder, we've mentioned. 3 mana, gain some life. Saw plenty of play. And then Wall of Blossoms also saw plenty of play in your green-black decks, among other things.
Because you see, with Cabal Therapy...
Oh, I see.
Oh, yeah.
It was nice. Slivers we've mentioned, so we're not going to go over those. Most notable, of course, are Sliver Queen, Crystalline Sliver, and Hibernation Sliver. Artifacts, there's Ensnaring Bridge, which is still good today. Really weird design, in my opinion.
I can at least appreciate... I mean, you can't attack for the rest of the game is bad. Don't do that. But if you are going to do it...
Oh, that's bad.
If you are going to do it, Ensnaring Bridge is a pretty good execution of it, because it's like you can't sit back on your handful of counter spells. That's not the way the card works. A lock piece that asks you to play proactively is very different than the lock pieces that typically got made at the time. So there's at least if you want to do the hard lock thing, you got to be playing every card in your hand, and you can't always do that unless your deck is filled with nothing but cheap stuff. So how are you supposed to build a lock deck with this when it's not allowing you to really play with card drawing or situational removal or counter spells or whatever?
Way back in the day, I think my first time at Origins, I played an Ensnaring Bridge deck that was called Burning Bridges, and it was this with Grafted Skullcap.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it had Fire Diamond and then just like burn spells. And, I didn't do great because I was pretty young, but I remember finding that deck list online. I was like, man, it's so cool. They can't do anything. They can. But
yeah, no, but I saw decks like that around my local shop too.
Yeah. Mox Diamond we mentioned, and then Volrath Stronghold, which is flavor wise a very key card in the set, and then sometimes you see it as kind of like a one of in some decks.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Again, another green black staple, because you know what it's good with? Wall Blossoms. Do you know why? Cabal Therapy. Just reading the cards back to you.
It's all.
I'm in my Golgari era.
It's all coming together.
They could barely kill Spiritmonger the first time.
Yeah.
If I get it back, it's like, what are they possibly going to do about it?
That is the trivia here for Stronghold, everybody, which means we are taking a short break and getting ready for everybody's favorite part of the show, the award show, right after this. All right, everybody. It is now time for your favorite part of the show. Our favorite part of the show is everybody's favorite part of the show. It's the award show for Stronghold. And we will begin, as we always do, with the Oko Thief of Crowns Award for Best Card in the Set. Your answer is...
I'm going to give it a Dream Halls. There's definitely some competition, and I wouldn't begrudge anyone who gave Mox Diamond as an answer. But in my opinion, Dream Halls would be... I guess my position is I could imagine a fun standard format that involves Mox Diamond. I cannot imagine a fun one that involves Dream Halls.
Okay.
That's my line.
My answer, even though I've never played with the card once in my entire life, I've never cast it, I've never owned one. This is purely on reputation alone, is Hermit Druid.
A fine choice.
Because it's banned in a format, so it can't be that bad. I'm hoping that one day I'll get to cast it and kill someone on turn, probably 2. But almost certainly 3. And, maybe they'll make the mistake of unbanning it someday and then have to emergency reban it. So that'd be fun. Time for the Carnival of Souls Award for worst card in the set. My selection is Hornet Cannon. Do you know what Hornet Cannon is?
No, I can't say I do.
It is a 4-mana artifact that you can pay 3 and tap it to put a Hornet token into play. Treat this token as a 1/1 artifact creature with flying that is unaffected by summoning sickness. At the end of turn, destroy the token.
You know that's really good with? Grave Pack.
Well, look at you.
Do you know why? Cabal Therapy.
Oh, yes.
We're back in the same
We're back to Black-Green land.
Yeah, I mean, that rate's really bad.
Awful.
Yeah.
Come on.
My vote goes to Tidal Surge.
I'm assuming this is a blue card.
Yeah. This is pretty pathetic.
Okay, you would think it's an instant.
Oh, no.
No,
you would think that because why on earth would you ever be interested in this at sorcery speed?
Yeah.
You can't even tap their flyers to get through with your flyers.
No. You gotta tap the ground pounders.
Yeah.
Those big green creatures. See ya.
Yeah, I mean, this is so weak in any sense. It's especially weak in a block with so much shadow.
Sure.
It's like, what are we doing here?
When you told me this card, the first card I thought of was Early Frost, but that only taps lands.
Nice.
I thought it was just 3 permanents. I remember it from, is it Fifth Dawn? Yeah, it's Fifth Dawn, but it only tapped lands. Okay. Yeah, Tidal Surge not great.
Yeah, I think that the Tidal Surge may be slightly stronger in absolute terms than Hornet Cannon.
Okay.
But Hornet Cannon actually has some purpose. You could do something with it. They're both quite bad, though.
Just the token can't stay. It has to die.
I don't know. If you're firing it out of a cannon, I guess it's supposed to die in a turn.
It's a Hornet.
I don't really know.
All right. The Doomblade Award for best non-rare in the set. We have the same answer. Mana Leak.
Yep. Wall of Blossoms, also a fine candidate here.
Yeah, really good option.
But yeah, I think Mana Leak is just Spirit of the Ward, very nuts and bolts. Definitely wouldn't be rare. Thematic for Color Pie. Like, it is very much a non-rare. And super good at the time, and has been super good every time it's been legal and standard.
Totally agree. So we're moving on to the Aboro Palace in the Clouds Award for fun of one of in the set. Your selection.
I don't know if I remember.
It's a bridge.
Oh, Ensnaring Bridge.
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, some decks play 4, but it often shows up as some sort of tutor target.
It's a nice Karn target.
Yes.
Karn's so lame. My selection is Volrath Stronghold because it's a good tutor target.
And it's also probably a better answer than mine because it's actually fun.
That's true. It's also legendary, so you probably don't want to play 1.
Yeah, that's another good point.
Yeah, pretty all good points around. We're going to move to the Mystic Confluence Award for the best vintage cube card in the set. We have the same answer once again, which is
Mox Diamond.
That is correct.
Yeah, acceleration and color fixing, and it's an artifact, and just what do you know?
Yeah, it's vintage cube.
It's a sicko.
It is. So now we move on to the Smothering Tide Award for best commander card in the set. Now I'll have you know, I did my normal EDH research for this one, but I took some liberties because I am hard-pressed to believe that Grave Pact is not a good answer. Me, not a commander player, but I think that Grave Pact is the best answer, so that's what I've gone with.
It may have, and my answer is similar in that it might have been outmodded, but it was so popular in multiplayer settings that Magic has just made better and better versions of it over the years to scratch the dish, giving it to Awakening. A lot of cool stuff you could do with this thing. Very much like Grave Pact, very naturally scales up in power level the more players that get out of the game.
Yeah, good answer.
And Awakening is also, it doesn't work, and Grave Pact too. They both got something cool in common, which is it doesn't work with just any old thing.
Sure.
You got to be like trying to build. It's not like the dual lands that come into play untapped if you have 2 or more opponents.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, it's true.
Yeah. That's a...
You like those lands? No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't.
They are somewhat artless, I think.
Maybe a little.
Oh, when am I going to have 2 or more opponents? I was talking about this with some of my coworkers who play Commander, where I'm like, let's imagine you had a card that says when you're at 30 life or more, XYZ.
Okay.
That, to me, is a celebration of Commander because the card still works in a one-on-one setting.
True.
It's harder, right? But, you have cards that gain life. But in Commander, you start at 40. So it just works there all the time. However, you still get attacked in games of Commander too. So if I don't play with any life gain at all, it could be kind of easy to shut this off. So I still want to be doing a little bit of that blah, 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 blah. That's an artful way of leaning into Commander. 2 or more opponents. It's like, well.
Let me check. Yeah.
Not to derail, but yeah. Those lands, when I see them, I'm just, because it says 2 or more, and I'm like, waiting to get to the punchline and then opponents.
Yeah. Found you.
Ugh.
I found you, Miss New Booty. Pack Rat Award for best limited card in the set. So I have 2 answers.
Mm-hmm.
We are adjoined on one. So I'm gonna go with Constant Mist.
Sure.
Seems super lame. Get into a little late game, able to fog for like 6 turns in a row while you're like beating down like a Winddrake or something. Just doesn't seem very fun. But my other answer and your answer is,
was it Flame Wave?
That's correct. Now, I think I had a recollection when I read your answer. I was like, did people call this Game Wave back in the day?
Maybe. I wasn't playing much limited.
Because I remember, I didn't play limited during this time either, but I have a recollection of people just basically going Game Wave. And then the game ends because you deal 4 to all of their stuff and them.
Yeah, it's Plague Wind plus Lava Axe.
Yeah, seems like a lot.
Because the creatures back then were so small.
Yeah.
Now, in limited games, there's just more 6-mana 5/5 floating around. Back then, this is like, I think this kills basically every creature in the set except for Sliver Queen and the rare 6/5 Regenerator for 6.
How do you know that? The Carnicid?
Yeah, that's a rare, by the way.
Yeah, 5/4.
Nice. Oh, yes.
So you can still catch it. There's this elephant, Endangered Armadon. That's a 4/5.
Nice.
So you can't kill that one with Game Wave. I'm just going to check the green creatures real quick just to see if there's any that also live. Got a bunch of spikes here. They all die.
The spikes situationally, one could live.
That's true.
You could load up on the biggest one or whatever.
Spined Worm dies. So that's dead. And let's see, Spitting Hydra. Well, that enters the battlefield 4+1/+1 counter, so that one dies too.
That card's also nice.
Okay, good eye by you. It does kill. Oh, the Flowstone Mauler lives.
Maybe they can mess it up.
Sure, that would be. That'd be really tough.
They're a misclick away.
That's true. That's true. Okay. Next award is the new award, which I forgot to give you in our script. So you're going to have to answer this one on the fly. The Circle Protection Award for best hoser in the set. Now, there's not a lot of hosers in this set in a meaningful way like we've seen in past
I'll
sets.
give it to Ruination.
Okay. So that's a good answer.
Ruination's so brutal.
That's a good answer. And that is a hoser in the technical way.
Yes. And it's especially rough here because we're already talking about a time where dual lands are so bad. People don't typically play multicolored decks.
Mm-hmm.
It's also just the wrong place and time to go after people like that.
Okay. My answer was Stronghold Assassin, which is the 3-mana 2/1 sack a creature, destroy target non-black creature, because, if you play against a green deck, the game's over.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's why I was in my Oversold Cemetery deck. Gotcha. Oh, you're a green deck? Okay, cool. Well, this game's over. As long as I draw creatures, you lose. So we're moving on to the Char Rumbler Award for the weirdest card in the set. I'm going to get mine out of the way real quick because I don't know what the hell's going on with yours. So mine is Portcullis. For those of you who are not in the know, Portcullis is a 4-mana artifact. Whenever any creature comes into play, if there are 2 or more other creatures in play, set that creature aside. If Portcullis leaves play, put the creature into play under its owner's control. Just doesn't really strike me as a fun way of playing Magic.
No, a little weird doing this with Ensnaring Bridge too.
Yeah.
But do we need permanent no creatures do anything?
Also, just set it aside.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
So I don't know if this is against the spirit of the award or not. There are certainly strange individual designs up and down the set, but I'm going to give it to the combination of Wall of Razors and Craven Giant.
Okay.
We were talking about a set with 140 cards.
Not many.
Not that many cards. How do we have 2 different 4/1s in red with an attacking or blocking restriction? This is a really, when I see the 2 cards together, it's just like so weird. How many creatures are in red total in the set?
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm up to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I got 12, 13.
2 out of 13. It's over 10%.
Yeah.
It's a very weird thing to do twice. Again,
strange.
each card not individually that weird. I think Wall of Razor is a little bit strange, but fine, whatever. You want to make some walls that work with Rolling Stone or whatever the deal is. But yeah, both of these in the same set, in a set this small, is so strange.
He doesn't like it. He doesn't like
Mirrored
it.
pair. One can attack, one can't block.
Both 4/1s. Blank award for the best card name in the set. Your answer is?
I don't know if I remember.
Rolling Stones.
Oh yeah, Rolling. Yeah, such a sweet card. Beloved casual card. Another one that was way more popular and expensive relative to its tournament resume. Pretty aspirational thing to build around, even though they very rarely make cards that work with this at all, because so many walls are 0 power or reference blocking as the thing. I would say that this card is sort of the precursor to a lot of the Dora and the Siege Tower type of space.
Yeah.
People just attacking with things with big butts. They love it. It's really fun.
They do love it.
Yeah.
And you know, it is kind
They
of fun.
love it.
My answer is Fling. Cool name. Don't have to tell you much. You kind of get the idea of what it does based off of the name. Cool artwork, cool flavor text, just cool everything. So one of my favorite cards in Magic history. John Avon Award for the best land artwork in the set. Well, there's only 1 land in the set, so the award goes to Volrath Stronghold. So now we move on to our final 2, the Aurelius Fury Award for most overhyped card during previous season, and the Tarmogoyf Award for most underhyped card during previous season. I, as always, don't have an answer because I was not playing in a meaningful way then. However, you have one for each. Your Aurelius Fury Award winner is...
You tell me.
Pursuit of Knowledge.
Oh yeah, people thought this was like, so you could do something with this other than basically lose the game on the spot if you cast it. It's like really bad if it gets disenchanted. You have to absorb 3 turns of not drawing a card in most circumstances to get the thing to happen.
Yep.
Cards are in general are on somewhat diminishing returns. So losing 3 cards to draw 7 is not nearly as good as just drawing 4 cards. But people were like into this as a potential, you could just play it on rate.
There's the allure. There's the allure of power here.
Yeah, draw 7. Wow.
In white.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Get it all back and then some. It's like, no, you're dead.
Do you remember your answer for Tarmogoyf Award?
I think it was Hermit Druid.
That's correct.
Yeah, again, I've already mentioned this, but it's this curse scroll thing.
Yeah.
All the text conceals the straightforward bustiness of it. Took a little while for this one to get over, just because you do need to have synergies with having no deck, either playing out of your graveyard, winning on the spot, whatever. There's some Hermit Druid decks that play like 1 basic land and there's something they're up to or whatever.
Okay.
So it took a little while for this one to catch on, but eventually it's, green tap, flip your deck over. There's a lot you can do with that in older formats.
And banned. So there's that. Well, everybody, those are the awards for the show, which means we've got one thing left to do. Alrighty, my friends, we're going to grade this set and say what won this set in just a moment. But first, a quick word from our friends over at Coalesce Apparel and Design. You can head over to coalesceapparel.shop, the #1 source for Magic the Gathering inspired apparel, to check out their selection of shirts, hoodies, stickers, playmats, and a whole bunch more. If you find something you like, be sure to use promo code Resleevables at checkout to save 10% off your order. Coalesce Apparel and Design, nobody made what they wanted, so they made it themselves. Alrighty, partner. What card won Stronghold for you and why?
Sliver Queen.
Okay.
It's just, first of all, just doing a 5-color creature is
That's pretty cool.
Really cool. And it's not that it was just for no reason. It's that the slivers are spread across all 5 colors.
Okay.
And then also the ability is not just random stuff. It speaks to, well, you can just play with this if you want to. It works just fine. But if you're doing the Sliver thing, wow, are you really doing it? And if you do play with Sliver Queen, that presupposes you have access to all 5 colors of mana, at which point you can start really mixing and matching the different slivers you're playing with to do cool stuff.
Okay.
Another card, I mean, I know at this point it's worth several $100s, but even on release, it was like no chance of keeping it in stock. Really? Just too beloved, too cool. People just wanted to own a copy of it, even if they weren't really playing with it.
It is. I want to check really quickly. I think you're right. It is still. Oh my.
What are you looking at?
It's $300.
Sure.
Oh yeah, my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
It's worth $300 because it's cool. It is the Zuzam Jin of this era.
Yeah. All right. All right. That's actually
high praise.
All right. My answer is going to be Spike Feeder. Spikes are cool. These are probably the coolest creatures in the set. You know, the other options, slivers are cool, obviously. Lizards are not so much. And then the Flowstone creature is not really that cool. Spike Feeder isn't like overpowered or anything. It's just kind of a cool design. And this set, I can't say this like that strongly, but it feels like the set's just kind of lacking on cool designs.
Yeah, maybe. It is weirdly, too many of the designs, in my opinion, rest in the place of either being extremely simple or completely bizarre and inscrutable. Mm-hmm. And yeah, you're right that Feeder there's some play to it. And the thing that I really like about it is, how do we do this counter removing stuff in a way that doesn't add to onboard complexity when the counter removal thing costs 0?
Okay.
So Spike Weaver is gated by the fact that it costs mana. So we acknowledge that we allow some onboard complexity. Spike Feeder is super appealing, and the 0 mana ability does not add to board complexity.
True. That's true.
Unless you have something that cares, unless there's like a third party interaction. It's a great design.
All right. So that means it's time to give this set a grade. And I'm going to go first. I've been thinking about this one for a little while today, what I was going to do here. And I always try to save it until we do the show. I'm in between a 4 and a 5. I'm leaning 4.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with a 4. Here's why. Compared to my Tempest 8. Now, I think maybe I gave Tempest a little bit too much credit, but here's the thing. This is a really big step down from Tempest, it feels like. And why I say that is because Buyback, which we've discussed is not great, but like it's not really anything here either. So like the Buyback designs in this set aren't anything particularly interesting or cool, in my opinion. So that's number 1. Number 2, your other mechanic, Shadow. There's only 3 cards that reference Shadow in a meaningful way in the set. So if you were like really into Shadow in Tempest and you were like, man, I can't wait to see what the Shadow designs are, boy, are you disappointed when you open up this set. I'm just like, oh, there really aren't any. And then there's other cards here that are just like not particularly fun to play against. Like I'm not going to mention Hermit Druid because I don't think that was good right away. And you know, it's like busted combo enabler or whatever. Not really what the goal of the card was, but like Ensnaring Bridge doesn't seem very fun. Grave Pact, maybe-ish. Megrim, I know it's like a casual superstar, but not the most fun card, I think, to play against either. And when I look through this set, and as we've gone over through this set today, nothing really stands out to me here as like, oh, that's kind of neat. That's a fun thought experiment. Like, besides Sliver Queen, because even some of the slivers are just like, whoa, Crystalline Sliver, yeah, you can't kill my stuff anymore, have fun. Or Hibernation Sliver, you, again, can't kill my stuff anymore, have fun. I'm straining to find a lot of fun cards here or positive designs.
The Crystalline Sliver Winged Sliver combo was really rough.
This game.
It's like
you just lose.
So what do you want me to do about this?
Yeah, you can't do anything. Sweeper, you're dead.
My grade for Stronghold is a 3.
Ooh, okay.
I think any part of this set that is basically an extension of Tempest is pretty close to an F.
Okay.
There's nothing really novel going on here with the exception of Constant Miss, which is like, not sure if that's the place you're supposed to be putting some novelty points into. The only thing that saves this set from a lower grade is a lot of individually cool designs that have a casual or multiplayer resume to them. Okay. The Awakenings and Intruder Alarms, Grave Packs. You could kind of put Sliver Queen in that list as well. There's a lot of designs in here that, as I said before, sort of the family tree of multiplayer designs that come off of them is really, really powerful and a fun design space. So Stronghold, I think, should get some points for that. There's some just great multiplayer designs here. The other stuff is, like I said, when you were talking about your grade, the number of designs that are either boring or completely inscrutable, that's part of the reason that Spike Feeder jumps out. It's like, oh, this is a fun design. I can do cool stuff with it. And I understand it the first time I read it.
Sure.
There's so little of that going on in this set.
Yeah.
I think the white creatures are pretty much, I consider them to be a failure insofar as, to the extent they ever showed up anywhere, was just unbounded 0 triggers, not anything to do with manipulating damage or anything of that sort.
Yep.
So yeah, some individually cool designs, but either everything in this set is either very derivative of Tempest without a new spin on it, or completely off message with the stuff that's going on in Tempest.
Tempest, it feels like they kind of like went for it. And I remember at the beginning of our Tempest episode, you were like, what if we print all these cards and took a mana off? Yeah. Right. And so they were clearly like kind of trying to juice it up a little bit. And this set, it just feels like, I don't know, we're kind of out of ideas ish, kind of boring ish. I don't really know.
Well, the places where there's power in the set are overwhelmingly bad bets.
Okay.
So, I think that the best bet in here is probably Spike Feeder or Wall of Blossoms, but Dream Halls, Mox Diamond, Mana Leak, these are just not, Ensnaring Bridge. These are just not bets that are likely to go the right way. And it's where a lot of the power of the set is. Even Volrath Stronghold is, we kind of, I think, know the card with some warmness because we're familiar with it in a format like Vintage Cube, where first of all, it's just not that powerful.
Yep.
And second of all, there's so much crazy stuff going on that even if it was powerful, like compared to what? You know what I mean? This is just kind of what the format is.
Sure.
It's not actually a very fun card to be good. It's a lot about just looping and recursion and the game state not advancing. And in Sliver Mirrors was literally about decking the other person because they couldn't proceed.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
So that's a card that I think nostalgia and sort of time has given it a much warmer view than it would be if it was just legal and standard right now and a card people were playing.
All right. Scoreboard time. Quick review of what we've done so far. You can see on the screen, Alpha Beta Unlimited, still the GOAT, with scores of 10 from Patrick and I. Then we start getting our scores, just start going down. Got our Homelands 2 and 3, still got our Chronicles 1 and 1. Things starting to trend up maybe a little bit around Tempest, but with an 8 and a 6. But Magic design kind of early on, still a little bit rough. Now we'll see what happens when we do get to Exodus, which I believe is the next set we're covering here. But just still working out the kinks.
Definitely. I mean, for a player of my vintage, I think that I'm probably much more sour on Rath cycle than most.
Yeah.
Because most of this stuff to go back to Mirage Block, there's so much good and appealing stuff going on there that has nothing to do with just power creep. There's some cards that are better than others, and I think the average card is a lot better than the average card in Ice Age or certainly Homelands, Fallen Empires, but it's not introducing an unsustainable model for how power gets distributed through the sets. And through that sort of lens, you can have a real appreciation for the architecture of the set, different designs and mechanics. This is all through this. You could imagine this going on forever.
Mm-hmm.
To the extent that Rath cycle has steps forward, in my opinion, it is just power level. Okay. It's just the cards getting a lot stronger. And that can be a fun thing some amount of the time, but you can't do this forever.
True.
And it's hard for me to get away from, if you look at that trajectory of Saga Block just like blowing the game engine out of the water.
Yeah, I can't wait.
And then Mercadian Mask being this hard reset.
Yep.
People talk about those two blocks a lot as, this is where it went way over the line. And then this was basically the cost of our sins.
Sure.
Is Mercadian Mask.
Yep.
And I believe that telling of history ignores Rath cycle. It's easy to do now with hindsight's 2020 and all that, but you can see where things are going comparing this to Mirage. And this is, I think that, part of the reason I'm so down on this block is it's a look into the future and it is bleak.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, let's try to lighten things up a little bit, bring some hope, and tell you all the things that we are doing here with the Resleevables, like our YouTube page, which you may have watched this episode there at youtube.com/theresleevables, where you can find our most recent episodes of this show, The Resleevables, in which we, of course, have reviewed Stronghold today. You can go back and watch Tempest, Weatherlight, and all the other sets prior to this one. You can find our most recent episodes of The Resleevables Tournament Edition as well. We've got some awesome new stuff coming out there in a couple of weeks of old Pro Tours and World Championships to cover from 1996 and beyond. You can find snippets of our Unsleeved podcast, which we'll talk more about how you can listen to the whole thing here in just a moment. And you can watch our Crack-a-Pack videos, like our Tempest Crack-a-Pack video, where we opened an Ancient Tomb and a Lotus Petal, baby. And if you want to be the recipient of the other pack from our Crack-a-Pack videos, you're going to tell them how.
Well, if you go over to patreon.com/theresleevables, you can sign up for our Patreon at a variety of tiers, and each tier comes with its own benefits. Part of the benefits at the $10 and $25 tiers is that you are entered into all of our Crack-a-Pack giveaways. After every set we review, we open up one and make a video out of it. And the second booster is sent out to someone at our $10 or $25 tier. You don't have to sign up or do anything or send an email to us alerting us that you'd like to be put in the drawing. If you're in at the $10 or $25 tiers, it's fully automated, and you might be the fortunate winner of Stronghold booster pack. And now would be a particularly good time to sign up because we are approaching some of the most expensive packs in Magic's history.
That's right. Saga block, baby. It's almost here. Let's talk more about our Patreon that Patrick did mention at patreon.com/Resleevables. There you can get early access to both the Resleevables and the Resleevables Tournament Edition. You can help vote on what we play in an additional episode of the Resleevables Tournament Edition. You get access to the total library of the Unsleeved podcast, which is our Patreon exclusive podcast. And as Patrick did mention, if you are in the $10 and $25 tier for our Crack-a-Packs, you're eligible to win one of them from the random drawing that we do before every single one of those. If you like to browse on Twitter, you can follow us at the Resleevables over there, where we have fun updates to what we're doing and fun photos, behind the scenes type stuff, all that good stuff. And then a quick shout out to all three sponsors of the show: Tales of Adventure, Eternal does live there. You can use promo code Resleevables to get 5% off of your order. Coalesce Apparel and Design. Nobody made what they wanted, so they made it themselves. Promo code Resleevables for 10% off of your order at checkout. And then Brian Koval's wonderful YouTube channel, Bosh and Roll, where he's playing Eternal Magic every single weekday. So some of the cards that you saw on here, you can go see over there. Also, Brian's super cool.
He's funny, good poster, and he wins a ton.
What more can you ask?
What more could you possibly ask?
I know. So what is next? Well, I can confirm that it is Exodus. We'll finish out Rath block, Rath cycle, whatever you want to call it, in our next episode here of the Resleevables. For our next episode of the Resleevables Tournament Edition, it'll be Pro Tour Columbus 1996. We got all those cards in the mail recently. So let me tell you, Ollie Rod's red-green deck.
The giant spiders.
Giant trapdoor spider.
Giant trapdoor spider.
A woolly spider.
Uh-huh.
It's one of the worst. It's one of the worst decks I've ever seen.
Spider deck.
I was goldfishing it, and I can goldfish just about anything. Not this one. Because you know what you do when you goldfish with this deck? You activate Stormbind a bunch.
Oh yeah.
Which
that was me. I did the same thing.
That's not goldfishing at all. Yeah. Anyone could just throw a card away if they pay 2 mana. That's the whole deck. So it's pretty bad. And the other decks are white based, like have some land destruction and Blinking Spirit, and there are going to be some ugly games that we're going to record.
Looking forward to it. Cannot wait.
So with that, everybody, we want to thank you so much for watching. We hope you learned a ton about Stronghold. Exodus is coming up next. Have a good one. Look at this fucking big as your car. Just he does everything big. This one.
If it costs the same.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you get the bigger one?
Okay. Where'd it go? You got 3 of them? There it is. I found it.
This is like my old buddy He's like, yeah, my dad just always bought 100s, like the really long cigarettes. He's like, it's the same price. It's just cheating.
Maybe that
They haven't figured it out yet.
I'm not sure that's how that works, but that's okay. It's okay. All right, everybody, we are here for the okay, I'm gonna start over. Can't fix that now.
We got a mic check.
Let's take a look ski. Test one. Yeah. Good job by you.
Yeah.
Your mic's good. My mic's good. Snapping McDo. That's a technical term. Ah!